Eric, the referee, 11 minutes. What do you want to do with our last 11 minutes here?
We're going to get Matt Lodi real quick, and then
Okay, I
we're
want to
going
hear
to
from
grade
him. I'm looking forward to that. Kenny, before we get Matt in here, I
Yep.
just think the Steelers are on a mission right now, and especially knowing that they have the Browns, that's like having a game in hand. But they're 2 back on Cincinnati right now. Andy
But you know
Dalton's
what?
out.
Here's
Tyler
the thing.
Eifert's off.
I don't think the Steelers have a chance of winning the division. They're going to get in as either the 5th or the 6th wild card. Kansas City and the Jets are ahead of them with the tiebreaker right now. They're both 8-5, and if KC and the Jets win out, the Steelers are out regardless of what they do. They need some help, and Kansas City's schedule is one of the easiest schedules remaining. The Jets need to lose a game. The Steelers got to go to Denver. Steelers can't afford to lose another game. So it's not right now. Is there anybody playing better offensively than the Steelers? Probably not in the National Football League, but they dug themselves such a big hole where even if they went out at 11-5, remember when the Browns were 10-6 and they didn't make the playoffs?
Yeah.
The Steelers could go 11-5 and still not make the playoffs. You can talk to Matt about that. Maybe he has a breakdown of KC's schedule and the Jets' schedule. But the Steelers, they have the Broncos. I forget who it is the following week, and then it's the Browns the last week. So they've got to win all 3 and have either Kansas City or the Jets lose one of their last 3 games just to get in as a wild card.
Just checking one thing here.
And let me give you this, Andy, while you're looking that up. I looked up Tennessee and San Diego. Those are the 2 teams the Browns are tied with right now at 3-10.
Right.
Tennessee has a game at New England, home against the Texans, at Indianapolis. Those are their 3 games that are left.
Well, those
San
Texas
Diego has a game at home against the Dolphins, then they're on the road against the Raiders and the Broncos. So if they all end up with the same record, let's say it's 3-13, that win yesterday by the Browns could cost them the first pick and end up picking 3rd overall in the first round, 2nd overall in the 2nd round, and then finally have the first pick in the 3rd round.
Let's go back to that North. Basically, we're saying the Steelers have to win out, the Bengals have to lose out for them to win the North.
For the Steelers to win the division.
That's the only thing. That's the only scenario.
Because the Bengals have the tiebreaker based on, I think it's first, it's head-to-head, and they split. Then you go division record, conference record, common opponents, and the Bengals defeated Seattle and somebody else where the Steelers lost to them.
Let's go back to that other thing. We were talking about the Browns there. Oh, and there's Matt Lodi. We'll bring him in a second. Tennessee, that's who we're worried about, right?
Yep.
You've got 2 teams
Texans,
fighting
Colts.
for playoffs in the Texans and Colts.
Yep.
So neither one of those games will be easy.
Right.
And then who was the other team you had in there?
San Diego's 3-10. They've got the Dolphins at home, which is a winnable game. Let's be honest. The Dolphins aren't playing so well right now. Raiders, that's a potential winnable game, and they don't have to travel to the East Coast. That's already on the West Coast. And the Broncos.
All right, let's bring in Matt Lodi. He's walking around his house right now from SteelersGab.com. Hi, Matthew.
Hey, guys. Good morning.
Good. All right, so we're talking about the Steelers here. The Bengals, could the Bengals fall apart for the last 3 games, and could the Steelers come through for the last 3 games? Let's start there. That seems like a pretty tall task.
Well, obviously, Pittsburgh, the big game is next week against Denver. I think if they can get past Denver next week, they certainly can beat the Browns and the Ravens, and actually it goes vice versa. They start with a night game in Baltimore on December 27th, and then they play the Browns, of course, here in Cleveland. And I think they can win those 2 games. As long as, again, there's no turnovers, no injuries. I mean, you're asking a lot out of a football team to win their final 5 games, and that's what the Steelers will have to do. I look at the playoff scenario matching up more for Pittsburgh as being the number 6 seed. I think that the Jets are going to fall apart. They've got a road game Saturday at Dallas, and then they've got the Patriots and the Bills, and it's at New England and home for Buffalo. So I could conceivably see them losing 2 of their last 3, and Pittsburgh sneaking into that number 6 spot. Kansas City's not going anywhere. They're going to win their last 3, in my opinion. They've got pretty easy schedule to wrap up the season, including Cleveland in 2 weeks. They've also got Oakland, and I think they're going to win out. So I think they're going to be the 5 seed. But as far as Cincinnati falling apart, boy, I don't know. You know, I was texting a good friend of mine who's a Bengals fan yesterday, and I said, what do you think of A.J. McCarron? He said, I don't know. I haven't seen him. And obviously yesterday he was very pedestrian. He was thrown into a situation where it was a very highly volatile game. The Steelers had complete control by the time that McCarron kind of got in there and, you know, just really didn't play all that great. But on the other hand, I would imagine for a backup quarterback, you couldn't ask much more out of them. But I don't see Pittsburgh winning the division. I see them ending up as the 6th seed. And with that being said, I could see a potential Week 1 matchup where they end up in Cincinnati. And if it's against A.J. McCarron and not Andy Dalton, I could see the Steelers going into Cincinnati and beating the Bengals again.
Well, I mean, let's put perspective on the Bengals here. They've got the Niners, the Broncos, and who else? The Ravens. So they just pretty much
right.
they need to go 1-3. 1-3 takes care of that. Or
You mean 1 and 2?
1-2. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they'll beat the Niners at home. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the Niners on the road are not very good. I know they beat Chicago 2 weeks ago, but I think we saw the true San Francisco 49ers team yesterday here in Cleveland. Defensively, they're not very good. Offensively, they're very they're very average at best. I thought that they put up a little bit of a better fight yesterday against a pretty inspired Browns defense. But I think the Niners, with A.J. McCarron getting a week under his belt, I think they'll come back and beat the Niners at home this week. And then, whatever happens from there happens. They're going to want to win out, though, because obviously they're still looking to get a bye. They're still looking to get a number 1 seed possibly. So it's going to be very interesting. I think the team that really could be falling apart here, though, is Denver. Based on that game yesterday, they had complete control of that game against the Raiders. I watched the first half of that game, and I kind of just walked away from it going, well, it's 12-0 at half. The Raiders have negative yards at halftime. There's no way the Raiders win this football game. The next thing you know, you look up in the fourth quarter, and Denver's trailing by 3, and Brock Osweiler's getting sacked 5 times by Khalil Mack, a guy the Browns really probably should have drafted if you look back now. And they just kind of fell apart. If they lose at home, or I should say if they lose in Pittsburgh next week, which is a very realistic situation, they could find themselves losing that division to Kansas City. I mean, there's so many variables in the AFC right now, Andy, you know it. But really, Denver's a team, I think, right now in a lot of trouble because they're going to try to make the switch, I think, back to Peyton Manning, maybe as early as this week. And I don't know, that could be a mistake going to Pittsburgh against the Steelers team that looks very dangerous right now in the AFC.
All right, Matt.
And I'll say this, Matt and Andy, if you're a playoff team, you don't want the Steelers in the first round, even if you have a home game the way
Not
they're
at
playing.
all. No, I agree. Matt, we'll talk to you soon. We'll check out the Steelers game.
Have a great week, guys. Take care.
Thanks. We'll see you. What do you got? You got 4 minutes here. What do you want to do?
We're going to grade the team in 4 minutes here.
Grade the team in 4 minutes. Ready, Kenny?
Yep.
Here we go.
All right, quarterback.
I thought the what'd I give him? You have our grades, don't you? I thought I gave him a B plus last night. Yeah, I thought he was a B. He was a B plus last night. He's shown to me that he's able to learn, and I think maybe the fact that he's able to learn in football means he might be able to learn in life. I hope so. I hope he just gets a little bit older and a little bit more mature. I can't sink my teeth into the fact that he's going to be a starting quarterback or a franchise quarterback, but at least I feel better about him today than I did 2 days ago. And I'll go back to the Pittsburgh game, too. I mean, as a football player, I feel better about him as a quarterback than I did, especially at the beginning of the season. Kenny?
Yeah, I gave him a B. I thought he did a nice job. He didn't kill them too much. Again, luckily they were playing a crappy team, or that 10-3 lead right before the half when he threw the pick might have been a 10-10 tie going into the locker room at halftime. He also took a couple of bad sacks, but they got the win. He's 500 as a starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns this year, 2-2. So I gave him a B for his effort yesterday. And like you, Andy, let's hope that he can improve off the field as much as he's improved on the field from last year to this year.
All right, and Pierre gave him a B as well. What's the next
B
topic?
said Manziel has to protect the ball better. Or he
Protect the ball better.
All right, for the running backs, I mean, it's hard not to give him an A. I mean, Isaiah Crowell, career high rushing.
But that's based on the offensive line, too. The offensive line came to play, and let's not discredit Pat
Was it the
Shurmur,
Browns,
well
or was
too,
it the pitiful rushing defense of the
Combination.
Niners a little bit?
Yeah, it's both. They're a bad team.
But
it was fun
I
to watch.
tweeted this out yesterday, guys. What are you supposed to do against a bad team? You're supposed to run like crazy against them if they can't stop the run and beat them by a couple of touchdowns, and that's what the Browns did to a bad team offensively and defensively and on the road. So they did what they were supposed to do. They showed they were not the worst of the two teams playing yesterday.
It was fun to be on the other side. I kept saying that to myself. This is what every other NFL team sees when they play the Browns over the last 7 weeks. Next.
All right, the wide receivers. Brian Hartline going out for the season. That's going to hurt.
Sucks.
What did you guys think of their play yesterday?
I thought we include the tight ends in there because big play Garrett.
Yep.
That was a good. That might have been one of the most well-executed plays I've seen all season. The touchdown pass on the crossing pattern. That worked to perfection, and Johnny put the ball exactly where he needed to. When you go through the receiving, look, you don't have a lot of receivers on this team right now.
No, and they
Pryor
did a
got on
nice
the
job,
field.
Andy. Hartline had over 100 yards before he hurt his collarbone. You had Travis Benjamin coming back to the football. I gave him a B yesterday. I thought they did a nice job in helping Johnny out, and they ran some good routes and did some decent things yesterday.
I'm with you. Next.
Defense.
The defense showed up. They had 9 sacks. I'm so used to giving them an F. They did what they were supposed to do yesterday. Maybe that's a B, but I saw momentum, so that gave them an A for me. 9
sacks, 10 points, barely 200 total yards, and all day long they were after the quarterback. I gave them an A.
They weren't in the red zone until that final drive. It was the first time they got into the red zone. Go ahead.
Pierre said B because they still can't hold the edge on the run. That's the only reason why he couldn't give him an A.
How many rushing yards they end up with yesterday? They had 71. Wow, to see the Browns at 230, it's like a miracle. Go ahead.
It's usually the other way around, right, Andy?
All right, last but not least, Coach Pettin.
You know what? They showed up for him yesterday. I think that are you playing for your coach? They talked about it in camp all week. Are they? I don't know that Pettin's getting fired right now, so that's probably why I gave him an A. They actually showed up yesterday, which should be the bottom standard. Instead, it's the top standard. The thing that's going to come back to haunt Mike, I think, is the benching of Johnny. And if they can win 2 of these next 3 games, people are going to say, why didn't Pettin play him earlier? I'll be honest, though, it didn't matter at that point because when he had made the switch, there was no playoff hope at all. So whether he sat him for 2 weeks for the long-term health of Johnny Manziel, if he turns into something, then maybe it was worth it and it was a lesson well learned. Kenny.
I gave him a B. I thought the game plan was decent, but again, at halftime, the game was still in doubt against a horrible San Francisco team. Now, they came out in the second half, had a nice drive, 90-yard drive, whatever it was. They end up winning the game. And I will defend Mike Pettin on one thing, what he did with Johnny Manziel. You cannot have a player, the face of your franchise, the quarterback of your team, the starting quarterback of your team, come to you, look you in the eye, and lie to your face. You cannot have that. And if he had to send a message and it cost them 2 games, so be it. Hopefully it pays off in the long run if Johnny can get this thing turned around.
Would Kevin lie? No, he wouldn't.
No, he wouldn't.
Kevin would not lie. What do you got? There we
All
done?
right, final thoughts, real quick.
I'm going to even run the final. Do we even have the final? Oh, there we do. I haven't been running anything lately. Final thoughts. I haven't done much on those sound. Kenny, do you know I have all these sound effects I never use?
I have no clue.
Watch me. Ooh. What the what?
Yes. Yes.
What else I got?
You need to get Borat in there with high five, and we can high five on Skype.
I kind of like this. It's my Les Levine button.
There it is.
Final thoughts, Kenny?
I thought the Browns did to a bad team what they should have done to a bad team, and that's beat them at home, get a win, feel good Monday, victory Monday for the team. The question is, can they win another game this season? I don't see it. Maybe they can prove us wrong, and maybe they are making more progress than we think they are. But the next 3 weeks will tell us more about this team, the 2015 Browns, as they play at Seattle, at Kansas City, home against Pittsburgh. And it will tell us more about Johnny Manziel's future as well as Mike Pettin and Ray Farmer's future. So these last 3 games, not only an audition, I think, for Johnny Manziel, but also for Mike Pettin. Are they still playing for him? And can any of that talent that Ray Farmer brought in here, start to show some progress as well?
Kenny, I want nothing more than Johnny Manziel to be the franchise quarterback of this team for years to come, because that means they can go out and draft other guys next year. But the problem with this whole situation is, if I'm begging for a guy to jump off the page in the last 3 games, chances are he's not the franchise quarterback.
And again, I go back to, okay, let's say he plays decent the last 3 weeks. What's he do the next 6 months before the season starts? That's going to be the bigger issue. And whoever it was it Tubby or whoever said they need to get him a babysitter? They might have to do that if they're thinking about keeping him around. Or maybe they use the game yesterday, the Steeler game, whatever film they have, and try and trade him somewhere that maybe needs a quarterback or might be willing to take a chance on him. So he's not only trying to maybe win Mike Pettin over in case Mike Pettin stays, he's also trying to put film out there for other teams to show that he can play in this league and that somebody else would maybe trade for him.
Kenny, final plug?
Final plug today, I'll be down WHBC, 1480 AM, WHBC.com. You can download it, get your phone out, go to the App Store. You can listen to me wherever you go. And, of course, we'll be talking about the Browns' victory. We'll talk a little bit about Ezekiel Elliott getting snubbed. Only a second-team All-American, wasn't invited to the Heisman. Cavaliers, big week. Oklahoma City in town. Iman Shumpert came back. Kyrie Irving soon going to be back. Golden State lost. And all kind of other things we'll have rocking and rolling for you all week long at 1480 WHBC in Canton.
All right, Kenny, thank you. We appreciate your time today. Have a great week. Eric, the referee, your final thoughts.
Final thought, and this is a little bit ago, but we haven't had a show since then. Proud of the Browns for paying Gary Barnidge, getting him 3 years, friendly deal, well worth it. He's had an amazing year, and I'm happy they decided.
And we can talk about that next week too. We'll see what happens. All right, that's it for Dogs on the Run. Kenny, I want to thank you very much. Pierre will be back next week. He had some business to take care of this morning, so we'll see you. That's Dogs on the Run. Thanks for watching. Again, if you're watching on the podcast, we are live Monday mornings at 7:30. Take care.
You got it, dude.